More Than Rich podcast. Welcome to today's episode. I'm thrilled to introduce Shiv, a spiritual explorer, meditation teacher. Since his first Himalayan journey in 2015, he's gained deep insights into spirituality, which he shares through his popular YouTube channel and 3 books. Currently living as a yogi in the Himalayas, Shiv joins us to discuss his profound connections between spirituality, society, and personal growth. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Joseph, for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to share my experiences to
Of
your
course.
audience.
One of the reasons I wanted to get you on is because I'm actually very fascinated with the yogis. And I have family that's like super skeptics on the topic, right? They're very scientific and they think it's a bunch of
Mhm,
mumbo jumbo, right? And
mhm,
I always was like really drawn to the idea of they can meditate and people would be drawn to them. They can predict things. And then family members would try to brush it off like, oh, they're mentalists, right? Like they study
mhm.
human behavior. They just know how the mind works. And I refuse to believe that. I think that there's something more to our senses. So I would love to begin with just how you became spiritually enlightened. Like what was your journey like as a young kid? Take me to the beginning.
Okay, so I was born in a family which was, I would say, generally well off. In those days, I'm 58. Those days, India was very orthodox, very traditional society. So I was brought up in a kind of a traditional environment where we as a youngster, as a teenager, I couldn't dare to interact with girls. Like I studied in a boys' school, and that kind of setup where you don't break the rules of the society, and you are supposed to focus on a career. In fact, recently I made a video on my YouTube channel about arranged marriages and the benefits. Like I'm not advocating, but I'm trying to just bring out the problems the modernization of the society is facing by just trying to bring out what is good in the traditional system. So I was brought up in a traditional system, and India was orthodox, and India was very different 4 decades back, and it's rapidly changing, especially in the last 2 decades with bringing of technology and getting to the IT field. So that's my childhood. I studied in a Catholic school, and in a place in Rajasthan. It's a state where it's a desert state. That's the only place in India where there's a desert. That state has a desert.
Wow.
And I was born in Varanasi, which is a spiritual town or a religious town, very famous internationally also very famous, Varanasi. And so that's my birthplace. And we had not much choice living in a small town in Rajasthan. We didn't have much choice as a boy. We had to take on responsibilities and become a doctor or an engineer. That was generally a preferred line, and we were expected to. I didn't belong to a business community. I belonged to a working community. Most of my uncles, they were all in government jobs.
Wow.
But as I came up, government jobs had started dwindling, and we had to then look into the new upcoming private sector privatization. Economic change happened, liberalization happened in the country.
Forced
So
to
I was,
adapt.
yeah, so I was into that transition, and I could see people preferred government jobs, and people generally got government jobs within that geography. So the families are pretty much well knit, very close by, and as the privatization happened, so we had the metro cities and far off. I joined. I got finally. I was like, I would say I was pushed into engineering, and I would have done something better because my inherent qualities were more into management. And actually, our community is more into administration. They are more into government jobs. But I got pushed into doing engineering, and I somehow, went through a grind, torture. Actually, I don't
Mhm.
say torture, but I'm like on the lighter side. I'm saying it's a torture. And
Yeah.
I got through in the competition, and I got in a good college in India. And after that, I got an opportunity to join the Navy. I was a little glamorized by the military forces because the kind of lifestyle they live was very different. So there was a lot of glamour. They lived a very glamorous life compared to the conservative life which we lived. So that was
Yeah.
some kind of attraction which we had.
Yeah.
And because I lived close to the cantonment area in my place, and there was a big cantonment over there, and my school was also close to the cantonment, and I used to cycle across to the school through the cantonment, and we had a lot of people from the military families, in our class. So there was obviously some kind of visibility exposure we had in those days when there was no media. Like the only source of news was newspapers. So I got into the Navy, and I got into engineering, and from there I got selected in the campus because the Navy used to come to select, and I joined the Navy and became a military guy, and I worked as a missile specialist, and I worked in the nuclear submarine design, the first nuclear submarine which was made, which is now operational in India. I was part of that project.
Wow.
And so I was an electrical engineer, and I got into Navy where I could apply a lot of my engineering there, especially with the guided missiles and the core technology of electronics, of transmitter and receiver and microwaves and communication equipment. So I was exposed to a good technological and a very good structure, a great organization to work, very disciplined and very, looked upon with a lot of awe and this. So a good job, had a family, have a daughter. She's 29 years old. She works in Paris. So I had a very good life. Obviously there are challenges because government jobs are not so financially remunerating, and they're not. So into 2005, I decided to quit and move into private sector because there was an economic boom, and I realized that I have a qualification which can benefit me outside financially, and also it can allow me to grow professionally, which was looking a little unlikely in the Navy. So I took that plunge, quit my job a little early than 4 years before I could have got my pension. And that was a kind of a risk. I won't say risk, but it was a calculated decision I took, and kind of so I will have to send my daughter abroad. So I did that, and so then I moved to Pune. I was in Delhi when I left my job in the Navy, and I got a job in IBM, American company in IT, and I got into very interesting projects. Doing an IBM, I was mainly working with the network side of the network domain of IT, telecom. I was working for Vodafone account, and I was working for MX, American Express. They have a huge data center taking care of the eastern side of the globe. So I did some interesting projects over there, operations and projects. And then I moved into telecom from IBM after working for 3.5 years. And I continued in telecom, and I worked in large companies, Tata and Reliance, large companies. Then I worked in 2, 3 other jobs, Juniper Networks, another American company, which makes routers and switches. So in 2019, I said thank you to the corporate world, and I was assistant vice president in Geo, and had a very successful performance-wise and satisfaction-wise. I was very satisfied. I think there was an element of spirituality in my professionalism. I was non-political. I focused on what I do, and I loved what I did. And I think I had very successful tenures. I saw a lot of challenging tenures also, because when you are you're hardworking, you are a doer, you are actually kind of overloaded. And I was not a bootlicker, I was not a people pleaser, I was not a boss pleaser. I ensured my team is happy. So my thing was that you work, you create a great environment. Your team should be happy. If your team is happy, my thing was that I'm happy. I didn't want to do anything to make my boss happy by some unethical means, but my boss should be happy with my performance. So that was my ideology, which I followed. And I think being a non-political person, I successfully could navigate through all these insecurities of the private sector when especially when the recession happened. So that's how my journey went there. And then in 2019, when I went to Poland, because my wife got a job in, she's an economics teacher. She got a job in British school in Poland, and that made me, move to Poland. And my daughter is also in Europe. She's in Paris. She's in France for the last 12 years. She's become a French citizen now. So I got this opportunity, and I was into spirituality. I had a great spiritual calling in 2015. And then I also subsequently had a lot of experiences, out of time and space experiences, and a lot of kind of knowledge which got acquired and discovered, I would say. And also mixing up with my science background from my electrical engineering, I could really correlate the whole thing. And
Wow.
as you were telling that your family is, I think that doubt will get cleared if they hear me speaking, because I am also science guy. Junior, I was a missile specialist. I worked in nuclear submarine. I worked in all of technology. And I was also doing some spirit calling during my college. I remember that's something, I don't know, connecting dots. And I was also into astronomy. I was in charge of the astronomy club in
Wow.
my college, and I used to do sky shows, and I used to collect a lot of information, stargazing, and a lot of information about stars. And that's something which is now, uh, again, I'm doing here now as a spiritual person, trying to analyze that very differently from physical, metaphysical level in science to now a spiritual level. So I will talk about that subsequently now as we speak. So I had this spiritual calling, and I was very keen to. I had made a lot of friends in while traveling to Rishikesh, because most of the seekers who were coming to Rishikesh were all Westerners, and 99% were all from Europe and America and Western countries. And initially 2015, 16, 17, now the whole scenario has changed. It's, I think, 50-50. A lot of locals are going. But I was very impressed with that melting pot, cultural melting pot that place was, and especially on spiritual aspect, the whole setup was very different. So I had great learning over there. And so I had this urge to teach when I had these experiences. And also what I discovered and unraveled some secrets about life. Secrets are, I mean, they are not secret. Anything is a secret till the time
Just
you
not
don't know.
widely known, you know?
Yeah. So some people look them at as a mystic thing. Some people consider them as a mentalist. Some people consider them as, people have different kind of perceptions about that. And it's a very unorganized sector. This thing is an unorganized sector. The only education which we have is modern education, which is based on at a physical level. So we have actually forgotten what exactly is science. So I have a video now I'm making, and in fact, last two podcasts I had a great discussion about this science also. So I was having this urge to teach about the mental aspect of the human, the mind aspect, how the mind works. So I will tell you about why. So I was very happy that I'm going to Europe. So I quit my job in the corporate, and I told my wife I'll come there once you settle down. I had organized quite a few workshops and retreats in 2019, and it just happened that I could leave my job from the corporate, say thank you and bye bye to the corporate world, and take a plunge into this. So the workshops and all went off very well, and then I had made some trips to the Himalayas, many trips to the Himalayas, met some of these rare yogis, real yogis, and I had some conversations with them, and I was that you don't go to these fake, the whole industry is literally fake, and you really want wisdom, you have to search for real people, and they still exist. It's all about how do you search them. What people have a perception, because there is a lot of artificiality and there's a lot of fakeness, and there's a lot of hype about it, and there's a kind of a rat race, and it's all about marketing. You belong to America, and today I was reading about Edward Bernays, who was the father of
Yeah.
propaganda. So
Yeah.
so the
He
whole
made
propaganda.
cigarettes, bacon, and eggs
Yeah,
popular. Yeah.
yeah. So he was the father of propaganda and manipulator. Like, how do you manipulate the site? So the whole thing starts on there, and you can sell. Like, there was a nice silent movie in India, the only silent movie which was made. It was a very nice movie, and there is a scene that he packs shit in a box and wraps it very nicely and puts it on the bus stop. And somebody comes. People are greedy, so they feel that somebody has lost, left a very nice gift. So they take it. So if you package shit nicely, people will take it. So that's what is happening, because there is a demand. People create a
Wow.
supply, and yeah, so it's a business model.
It's a good
So it's a
analogy.
bit. Yeah, it's a business model, and you really don't know that every door somebody's selling. There are so many coaches now. I see certified coach, certified coach. Who certified you? I don't know who's certifying, but everybody is a certified coach.
Yeah.
Healers, Reiki, and this and that. And I mean, I think yesterday I was seeing a girl who's making a video. She's gone into Christianity, and she was telling, I was logged into this New Age spirituality. So this is basically New Age spirituality, which is packaged in form of all these kind of products. There are many products.
Yeah, they're monetizing
Yeah,
on
they're
basic,
modern.
yeah, on
Yeah,
basic information we should be able to have, right?
yeah. So I say you do a business. I mean, do a business, but don't sell something which you don't know. And
Ah,
this is something, so this is something which I found even in India. Like, people are coming, and these are all schools, yoga schools or ashrams. They call it ashram, but there are no more ashrams, because the gurus who started these ashrams are no more. But now the people who are the followers, they are running a business around it. So they don't have real guy who's teaching. So people are coming all the way to India thinking that they will get some. Though they get an environment around. Like, if you go to Rishikesh, which is called yoga capital of the world, Rishikesh does offer kind of a environment. I mean, it's like a place which is completely different. Like, there are all yoga schools all over the city, that place, and there are sadhus and yogis moving around. So you are transported into a different. It's like a kind of a shock.
wow.
So that place definitely has, but it's also changing. It's getting a little modern now. From traditional, it is getting a little modern, and so it's losing the value of the business model. And but as a true seeker, you have to keep navigating and finding those places. So that's what I think. I think I've spoken a lot, and now I think you want to clarify whether my question was to the
No,
point or
well, I
not.
mean, I was gonna go backwards a little bit and be like, what were your
Yeah, yeah,
first
yeah.
maybe enlightening experiences as a kid, like spiritually, where you knew there was something more than the physical? And
Hmm.
and then I'm also curious your opinion on how Eastern and Western views the karma differently.
Yeah, yeah. So what is happening is, I'll talk about spiritual experiences. You want to know about spiritual
Yeah, yeah.
experience? Yeah. So, or it's at a different level. So the first thing is that one should know that what is the purpose of life. So forget about spiritual experience. We really don't know what is the purpose of life, and we have been indoctrinated into certain way of living. We have been conditioned with certain things, like certain narratives, like a definition of success, which is based on materialism and being a street smart person to, just make your way by hook or crook, my way and highway. So you have to reach there. You have to, you have to manipulate, or whatever you do, you have to somehow, that's something which has been taught to us. And we were not really free thinkers. We were, uh, uh, for whatever reason, this has been imposed on us by our previous generation. Yeah, the reasons are capitalism, and we'll go to those propagandas and industrialization. I've written a book, Social Pandemic, which is basically on this: how we got society got influenced and manipulated. It is being constantly manipulated, but awareness is coming. So awareness is something. Why awareness is coming today? We are getting aware after, almost how many years back Edward Bernays started? I think almost 60 years back or 70 years back. So these propaganda started, industrial revolution started something somewhere in 1800, and it took 2 centuries to today that we are now, our generation is questioning now. We are in a questioning mode because we are hitting the wall. The
Mhm.
society, the main problem is, there are two main problems in the society. One is employment, sustenance, and second is, I'm not talking about consumerism. What is the definition of sustenance or employment also? Because today somebody wants six-figure salary, so that's sustenance for them. So I'm not talking about that. But main thing is, sustenance is definitely, and
Pur-
employment is definitely an issue.
purpose in a sense too.
Yeah. So second thing is, the second problem is relationships. So their is now making us question that where I'm heading, where I have been forced to, what kind of path I'm being forced to tread. So then when the questioning starts, then you start questioning that what's the purpose of my life? And when that happens, and then you start questioning many things. So if a right questioning starts, this is called self-inquiry. And this is a process of spiritual evolution. That understanding what is my purpose, understanding what I'm supposed to do and how I'm supposed to. Who am I, and what is my purpose, and what I'm supposed to do, and how I'm supposed to do. If anything is to be done, there has to be a way. So, if I put it scientifically, that every thing in this universe has a purpose. Nothing is created without a purpose. And if anything has been created, it has been designed for a specific purpose. So we as humans are the only one who don't want to know what we are created for and who created us.
Mm-hmm.
And we have been creating a lot of things. We have created the whole, this matrix.
Yeah.
And we create everything. We created a mobile. It's a purpose. Its
I,
primary
when,
purpose. Yeah.
when you say things like this, it makes me curious if you believe in free will.
Free will is means free of negativities, free of negative influences, free of wrong influences. Free will, there is no, you don't need any free will actually. It can be interpreted differently. If I am aligned to the universe, if I am aligned to the goal for what I have been created, what do you need a free will for? If I'm aligned to my properties, if I'm aligned to, I'm operating as per my specifications, I'm like a device. If I'm aligned to my specifications, if I'm tuned to my, if I'm operating optimally, if I'm operating efficiently,
Yeah.
so
Like
that's
like
only
if
possible.
I'm on a path, a direct path to a destination in that sense, right?
Yeah, that first of all, I know my destination, and then I know how to reach that destination. To reach that destination, I have to operate in a certain way. I have to perform all my deeds in my certain way. They should be aligned to certain conditions, and what is to be done is also should be known to me. It's not that free will doesn't mean that I want to go and commit murders.
I have a off topic kind of question here, but I've always told like some friends and some family that I have a super early memory that I feel like I can remember when I came to Earth or like I chose my life mission. And I don't know if that's a commonality anywhere or if that's heard, but I feel like I can remember like before I was actually born, if that makes any
Uh,
sense.
Somebody knew why he has come here. Can you repeat the question?
Like I don't know if that's a commonality anywhere or if that's in any culture or traditions, just feeling like I knew what I was agreeing to come here for in a sense. Like I could see what I was making my decision, like I'm gonna start here, I'm gonna pick this location to begin. That's what it feels like. Everything felt so perfect in that sense.
Yeah, that happens. That happens to individuals, irrespective of place and religion. Because now there is a freedom here. Because moment we identify ourselves with any human created things like even religion or any border, physical border, because the creator never created this. These are all human created. So if you free yourself from this, so everything can happen everywhere. We are all humans. We are all one. There's nothing. We have all the thinking is conditioned thinking. These thinkings are all in a cage. We are all in a cage, and we don't think beyond this. What you thought is true actually for all, and everyone, if they realize that that whatever is happening is all happening scientifically, and when you really, some people can connect with that, because some people have an ego. They feel I'm doing it. Some people feel no, this I know this was to be done. This was my path. This is a plan. And if it's only our ego which makes us feel that I know what I'm doing, I know what I will do. It may happen, it may not happen. Till that night it's happening, you may feel that I know what's happening. But sometimes when it doesn't happen, then probably that theory goes
Yeah,
fails.
for
So
sure.
so it's very difficult to predict. And I feel the whole idea about life is to live in the present moment and have an intention,
Do you have any
not really think about.
do you have any thoughts on like correlating frequencies because we're talking science and actual meditation in the brain?
Yes, yes. So what happens when we work on the ourselves, when we try to uncondition, because we've been conditioned with a lot of negativities. So we all every entity on the on the in the universe has an electromagnetic field. We all are energy beings. We have a mass and energy. So and consciousness. So these are the three things which are there. So every mass has a piece has an energy, and they say that everything, whether living or non-living, living in what we see doesn't move, we call it non-living. But everything has energy because everything has a material.
Sounds like animism, if I'm
It's
not
all
wrong.
material. So material science, huh?
Is that like animism?
Not really. I mean, these are terms. See, I generally don't use these terms. Frankly, I use
Yeah, I
very
got you.
simple language.
That's fine.
I use very simple language because then we get,
For
we
sure.
create
For sure.
another
Semantics. No,
Pandora box.
you're right. You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah. I realize that when you teach, you should teach in a most simple language. All my books are written in such simple language. They don't take you into some
I'll
other
take your
narratives.
advice. I'll take your advice on that.
Because I haven't heard of anime. Anime is something like my daughter used to do in the animation. So there's Japanese art. So if that is that. So your question was about
Just
these
brain and
conditioning.
correlating it. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So the conditioning is when we do unconditioning, when we realize that we have been conditioned wrong. So the first thing is we have to find out through self-analysis what's gone wrong with me. So we have to find out that. That's awareness. So we have to do a lot of introspection, observation, introspection. And when we find, then we have to know how to correct it. So we'll find that also how to correct it. And when we correct it, so the machine is becoming more efficient.
Hmm.
It's getting more optimal. So when we do that, so we are actually cleaning our brain. We are cleaning the mind. Mind is also actually, there's nothing like mind. Mind is just a intangible aspect of brain actually. But there's nothing physical called mind. So mind is just a collection of thoughts, or it's like a literary term, I would say. It's like a emotional term. It's not really an abstract thing. Abstract thing is brain. Brain processes all the inputs and then generates output, which is thoughts. So
Yeah,
when the thoughts which are being generated are worries and negative thoughts, and when we change the basis of our operations, of all the tasks which we do, which is our human values, when we start aligning them to the core design, the right design. If I become selfless, if I become empathetic, if I become caring, from being non-caring, from being selfish, from being greedy. So I change my qualities. When I change my qualities, they straight away those negative thoughts are removed because they are all generated through the negative qualities. So when I do that purification through that self-inquiry and introspection and observation, and I make those changes, then I do the transformation. So I am actually on a transformation journey, which is a process of observation, introspection, contemplation, maybe meditation. Actually, that's contemplation. It's not really meditation, what people pretend to do. That's basically contemplation which is needed. And through contemplation, we will have conclusion and understanding, and then you will bring it in your life. And when you start bringing it slowly into the life, that's where the purification happens. And when that purification happens, that's where we are now operating in a different energy level. The energy, the electron I have is positive, and we are now resonating with the universal frequency with which we are supposed to resonate. Otherwise, we are not in synchronicity. And like generators, to run two generators, electrical generators, you have to match the parameters, match the frequency. If you don't match the frequency, they cannot run in parallel. So if we have to run universe as a generator and I am a generator, I cannot run if I am not synchronized. So if I am not synchronized, I need to understand that I have to get that synchronicity, and that will enable me, and then things will happen. Then people can talk about manifestation, and I can explain not everything gets manifested. That's
Yeah.
another field.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask me if I do meditation. I have heard that you can manifest things. I said you can't manifest, $10 million. That's not the right thing to do. What is going to manifest? What should manifest? Or what should happen? There's nothing like manifestation. So many species on this earth, so many people on the earth, 8 billion. Everybody will start, manifesting, and the world will go crazy.
Yeah.
So it cannot happen with whims and fancies. This
So
is a
would you
scientific.
would you think that maybe the universe prioritizes like immediate needs amongst all these people who may be wishing or needing, manifesting in these aspects?
So humans have created a lot of needs, and we have if you look back in the ancient time, the life was very simple. The only what difference has happened is we have made life very complicated. And if we call them needs, they were really not needed. And when we were created originally, we were created unconditioned, pure. And during the formative years, during the conditioning, we were gradually loaded with impurities. Like you have a germanium silicon chip. To make them conduct electricity for electronics, you do doping with impurities so that it can conduct. Now, that is what happened to make us conduct into this complex world. We've been doped with impurities during our upbringing, and all these narratives and definition of success. So much thing has been imposed on us, and we are like a product when we are 15-year-old, 20-year-old. We are out in the market. We are product. We are thrown into the market. Now people will take us. How we'll perform, that's totally depending on how we got conditioned in school, with a company, with friends, kind of a culture we lived in, which place we lived in, what parents taught us, what we saw, what exposure we had. So we all learn from what we see. If you close your eyes for 20 years, you'll be same. And you close your ears up for 20 years, what will happen? Somebody lived in a jungle, Mowgli, that Jungle Book. Mowgli lived with the wolves, so he behaved like a wolf.
That's a good one. Um, coming back a little bit, because I wanted to talk about just Eastern and Western views on the differences of karma. Because as we're talking about that, it reminded me the reason I got into meditation and like clearing my mind and trying to not think about anything is because when I would get anxiety or when I would like impulsively react and get angry about stuff, like I noticed the universe would like in that moment, I would have like karmic reactions. Like so I would get hurt or something bad would happen. I would break something only when I would get angry. And I felt like it happened so many times in my life that I had to like learn to control my own emotions because every time I got angry, things around me would fall out of place or just bad stuff would happen. Can you relate to any of that? Is that a real?
Yeah. So there's nothing to do with Eastern and Western philosophy, because humans don't have any boundaries. They all behave same way. So what happens? Explaining about your reactions basically. So what happens is, like as I told you, that if I'm selfish, if I have expectations, if I have too many desires, unwanted desires, if I don't understand what are my needs and what are my desires, so somebody can desire a ordinary car, and somebody can desire a big car, and so everybody desires a car, but it depends what you feel is needed. If you go to Europe, the public transport is damn good. You don't need a car. I was living in Warsaw, and I realized that we don't need a car. We took a hired a rented place, house, an apartment, and we also decided to take a parking space. Also, I said maybe we'll buy a car, and then we realized we should not. Then somebody else was parking, and we were paying for that parking to the landlord. So the thing is that we really don't know what we want. We don't. We are running. We are on the we are on the runway, on a capitalist design runway with consumerism, fueling us. So, and all the definitions and the narratives and the glamour and the glitz, and the more the glitz, if you go to Las Vegas, so it's different. People are running differently.
A
If
lot
you
of
want to carry,
factors. Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of factors. People living in Texas are living differently. In Mexico, people live differently. In California, it's people are living differently. In Chicago, people live differently. So I think if you go to New Jersey, people live differently, and if you live in New York, main New York, you live differently. So people have different way of living and different surroundings and different ideologies and different way of complications, accepted or imposed. So what happens is. Why we react to things, as I told you, people have expectations, we have unlimited desires. So these are the negativities which are driving them, and we don't see a baseline. What is the benchmark? What is the reference for the humans? Because nobody should have a different reference. We are all supposed to be not greedy. We are not supposed to be selfish. We're not supposed to be not generous. We're supposed to be kind. We're supposed to be generous. We're supposed to be empathetic. So who discovered? Nobody tells us, and people just don't realize these are the triggers for all the reactions we have. All the mental modifications are basically this due to these triggers, and it's very simple. This is like a human mirror. This is the human design. That whatever I do now, I'll also tell what we should be doing, and what is my karma. My karma is my responsibility. As a child, I have may not have any responsibility for first 5 years. I am totally dependent on my parents. But as I grow up, if I'm 10-year-old, I will be probably given some tasks by my parents. As I become 15-year-old, you will be enabled more. And when you are 20, you are out. You get a kick on your back, and then you are out in the market. So now you are You can be a father, you can be, I mean, as a son, can have your parents with you. So, and then you have a responsibility towards you have a professional responsibility if you're working, and you have KRAs, and you have a responsibility as a neighbor. But they are all dwindling. Like the core responsibility is more in your workspace where you spend maximum time. You don't spend so much time with your neighbors or on the road. Like you have responsibility to follow law and discipline if you're on the road, and wherever you go, you have civic sense, civic laws. So these are certain. There are certain tasks all around, stitched around all this. That's the society we live in. We live in a community, and we are not a monk. So I'm not talking about how the monk should live and what the monk should be doing. I'm only talking about general people who live in a society, because we evolved a society, we evolved a system of community and political, socio-political, economic community and a society. So in that we have different responsibilities, and they become a karma. But we try to do more than that. We don't understand what are my responsibility, what's my karma. Karma is my responsibilities, nothing more than that. If I can fulfill my responsibility, which I actually try to shirk, I'm lazy. I mean, another negative quality. So if I shirk my responsibility, if I don't recognize my responsibility, and then second, I shirk my responsibility, and then I take on something which is not needed, and then obviously what will happen to my mind? And why I'm doing that? Because I have some negative influences or negative qualities. I'm tuned to certain negative qualities. You know, I'm a bully. I like somebody is a bully. So that's another so there are some 40, 45 qualities I've listed. I've listed them in my book. And in fact, I've made a video also, which will be go online, about human design, where I've again mentioned all the qualities I should be loving. People are haters. People hate, and there's jealousy, there is comparison. Should I be comparing? Should I be jealous? So we don't introspect about each quality and don't see how I am operating as per that. Am I operating as per jealousy, or am I operating as per not jealousy? If I'm jealous, what will happen? Will it trigger thought? It will make me react. And after I'll be kind of comparing that I am not successful, that guy is successful. So I'm comparing. And everybody has its own destiny. We don't understand destiny, and we don't want to work hard. We want shortcuts. So am I lazy? So there are many things to really think. Without understanding whether I am perfect or not, we are looking for perfection in others. We are trying to change others. We have great expectations from others. So these things give rise to then we react to everything. And reacting, we are not supposed to react to anything external. Why should I react to anything external?
Yeah, you made me think also, I can think of plenty of times in my own head when I've thought like, oh, I feel a certain way about something, and then I immediately think, why do I think like that? You know what? I should be happy about this. So you do have to get thoughts under control and notice when you do have those impulses. Are there any universal truths in different religious beliefs?
Universal truth is, I think all the religions are, we have to understand what is a religion actually, because religion was never written by the person who's behind whom the religion was formed. Religions were written by people who followed them. And the whole idea of writing religion was, it's like a constitution. We have a constitution for the country. It's like a guideline for being a good person. So the universal law, I would say, every religion tells you to be a good person. Now, how you interpret it, because these things were written, you know, so many years back, so many
Hmm.
centuries back, or 1,000 years back, 2,000 years back. Some religion was written 5,000 years back. So these were written a long time back. Even if you try to read Bible, and if I read, I'm like a not exactly a native speaker of English, but if I read Bible, it's difficult to understand for me. And even if I read my own scriptures, it's written in Sanskrit, and those are translated, and translations are not very good. So, but when I did my self inquiry, and what what I feel, that I think every religion tells you that you find directly, do experiential learning, do self inquiry, and people try to stick to the books, and they try to interpret the books. But what happens when 10 people are interpreting a book? They interpret it differently, and ultimately the book says that, fine, this is a bookish knowledge, but you should find yourself, explore the truth. And every religion has the same objective. I think you should understand what's a good human being, and it's the whole purpose of a religion is to create harmony. But we have used even religion, humans in this era are so corrupt, I would say, use this word. Mentally, they've gone so poor that they don't understand the purpose of religion, actually. And they use religion as a social identity. I'm a Christian.
Ah,
I'm a
yeah.
proud Christian. I'm a
Yeah.
proud Hindu. I'm a proud this. I'm
It's a
a
good
proud.
point. It's a
Your
good point.
religion is bad. My religion. We are creating social identity. What are we trying to do in this materialistic world, that I should earn so much money? Or do you have $6 salary? Oh, what are you qualified? These are the people are checking your pocket. Like, if today I see it's becoming so much, if I go somewhere, I'm socializing. People are just assessing you. What is your
What do you do
what
for a
benefit?
living, right? Like how can you
Yeah,
benefit me? Yeah.
what benefit? They are all. It's all opportunistic and exploitative environment today. Very negative, very
And it's
toxic.
so
There is
normal.
no
It's not even bad. It's also normal, you know?
normal in what sense? What is normal?
Like just the fact that it's normalized, like not just the fact that it's not a good thing, but that it's prevalent and it's widespread and it's everywhere.
But yeah, but I'm trying to say it is exploitative. It is underlying current is exploitative, and expectation and greed and materialism, opportunistic interaction. And it's not just because today, like I have now retired, and when I interact with people, people deal very differently. So
Hmm.
it's not how many people treat you as a person you are. How many people treat you, like I say, what is rich? Rich is based on knowledge you have, wisdom you have, or based on the money you have. Or is people who are rich, are they really happy from financially rich? I don't use the word rich. I say financially rich. But is financially rich really a factor of success? How many financially rich people are morally? I mean,
That's
they are morally corrupt.
that's the theme of the show right now you're talking about.
Yeah. So that's a problem. Like we have these narratives. All this is a narrative that rich means like if people come to India, they see somebody wearing not dressed very nicely, so they say they're poor. But poverty is not judged by what you wear, where you live. Yeah, hygiene is to be there, but where you live, whether you live in the prime area of the New Delhi, or you live which locality. People say, where do you live? Like, all matters. Where you live, where is your house, which society, which township, which complex, what you do. And if you shift from there, those people will start ignoring you. So this is all fake. This is a fake system we are living on. We are running on a fake system. And
Yeah.
when you realize, that's your awakening. That's your awakening. The day you realize that I'm living in a fake society, fake system, and let me get out of it. And when I disconnect from this external fake system, then I'm happy. Then you're living naturally. Then you're free. That's your free will. That's your free will. Free will is to get rid of the fake stuff, the fake social identity, the fake runway, the fake rat race, the fake people, and then maybe you don't have to look for people for happiness. The happiness is all inside. They say happiness is inside. Religions also say happiness is inside. All the religions say, if in Bible, the best thing to read is Book of Revelation. So because that's talking about experiential experiences.
Are
One
you
is knowledge. Huh?
all right, now go ahead, finish.
Book of Revelation. Book of Revelation.
I was just gonna say, are you familiar with fractals?
No.
Just how when you zoom out, there's a lot of things that are in nature, and when you zoom in, a lot of like patterns, basically. That's what I was getting at. Human nature. I was trying to see if you can correlate any of these things with whether it's in nature or the universe, how you can tie in fractals, but I'm if you're not familiar with the topic, I can go to a different question.
No, it's okay. See, I can talk something related to that, because when we go to nature, we feel happy.
It's true.
Which we nature when we are in nature, because we are part of nature. What we have done is we have destroyed development. Whatever we call development is not development, it's actually destruction. We're destroying the nature. We were created, and we are part of the nature, but we have distance ourselves from the nature. We think we are the kings, we are the god, and we have created a system which is taken away completely from the nature. I lived in the forest in the Himalayas for 3 months last year, and I'm in Pune for some time. Hopefully I'll be going back. So now, if the question is a yogi in the Himalayas is more happy, or a person living a simple life is more happy, or a person living in New York more happy? So these are simple questions. And when you go to the nature, you connect back to the nature. And it's very difficult to connect, to be there, because you're not conditioned. You feel happy, but you're not conditioned to live there. So sustaining there, it will take time to recondition yourself, and that will become your natural way of living. You can adopt very fast to that. But it's not so easy. If you have lived for 30, 40 years, 50 years in the city, and now you want to live in the forest, you are hardwired, so hardwired. It's very difficult to reprogram. That will take some time. Maybe this is something close to what you were asking.
Yeah, for sure. I'm over here. I have a couple other questions that I was going to ask about just
Mhm.
higher level of skepticism in the Western world, because I'm sure you're familiar with how we're skeptical on other sensory abilities. So do you have any thoughts on just psi or psychic phenomena, you know?
I'll tell you what my experience has been. And the mind has got immense capability. I mean, I can talk a lot about that. There is a theory of yugas, that there are, when the sun goes around another star, so it takes 24,000 years. There's a book called Holy Science by one yogi. So uh, in the ancient time, the Rishi Munis in India, the yogis in India, they used to do meditation, and basically they were doing self-inquiry and going into some deep meditation and thinking about all these things. They found the science about the human body. They could unravel all the mystery of universe, creation, everything. So they knew, we, like 5,000 years before, we have this ritual of worshipping the 9 planets. And people say that this planet was discovered in 1700 or 1800 and all, but we knew the planets, I don't know, thousands of years before. So how are they discovered? So there are many scriptures of mentioning so many things about the solar system. There's a whole calculation available in one of the book scriptures, ancient scripture, about the entire science of the creation, how many years, how many, about the distance between sun and earth, everything was already known. So how did they do that? That was through expansion of mind. My own experience of expansion of mind, when I'm also unraveling a lot of things. Now coming to science, like when I had most those experiences in those places, which I call, well, people will look at very magical, mystical, but it's not magical and mystical. There is science behind it. The vibration, the energy levels are very high over there. So when you go, when you are also at a certain level purified, you are vibrating at a different frequency. And when you go to those, so the interaction, the field will elevate you. When they elevate you, you have certain experiences which you cannot experience in this space and time dimensions. You go to the next dimension. There are multiple dimensions which it's not that what we see is only the truth. What, there is so much which we are unable to perceive through our limitation in the physical dimension. So when we go above this physical dimension, which will happen, which can happen through this meditation practice and through self-inquiry, you raise your vibration, it does get raised when you are in a state of happiness, when you are devoid of thoughts. When you go even above that, you go into a state of bliss. When you go into a state of bliss, this actually physical world disappears, kind of disappears. It doesn't, you become so oblivious to or inert to this, or literally it actually disappears. It doesn't bother you what's around you, and you go into a different dimension, and you are able to uh, then are ready to fly into space. So they say that I'm only telling what I have experienced, but I am telling you there is a possibility, because I am doing some self-inquiry. I'm getting a lot of answers. Right now, I'm questioning about speed of light. Now, why is the speed of light constant? So I'm not going to talk about that right now, because that's another huge topic. I'm also discussing, thinking about chakras. What are chakras? So in my last podcast, I spoke about chakras because the lady asked about chakras from Ireland. So I am doing some search, self-inquiry into this, and there are different dimensions where you can actually go. But saying is different, but going, it needs a lot of effort. It's not so simple. And what all you can go to, that only somebody who has gone can only tell. I can only tell what I have seen. I have gone through some experiences, like my mind becoming totally blank in a cave where a great yogi lived, because there was something which just happened because of energy only. What else can be there?
Are you familiar with the story of Jack Dynamite?
No.
Uh, Basically, long story short, he was a healer. I think he had traveled to India, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been another country. But the crazy part about his story that he was healing people, and then whenever he started to brag about it and kind of perform in publicly, uh, he would have nightmares of his master kind of shunning him and condemning him for putting his powers on display in a sense. And then he would have repercussions in the real world where when he would be showing off and healing or doing certain abilities, somebody would get hurt in the process, like really badly, like as the karma maybe from the master being like, what are you doing? Like you're letting me down in a sense. Like so maybe it's dishonorable to be showing these abilities. I'm not, what is your
Yes,
opinion?
yes. You are not supposed to tinker with the system, first of all. And everybody's, this is a law of karma. This nature runs, the science is on based on action, like Newton's law. Every action has an equal and opposite reaction. So whatever you do, whatever anybody does, everybody gets redeemed because every input has output. That's a basics fundamental science which applies everywhere. So spirituality, if you really see, is not really different from modern science. Modern science is a subset of spiritual science. But in spiritual science, if you go, you realize you can go much, much higher because I am right these days, I am going through NASA website and I am also seeing some talks from ISRO, the Indian Space Research Organization. Some of the scientists were talking about solar system and planets and all. And now when I see that, I find it so hilarious and so ridiculous what they're talking. They're all scientists, but at what level they are. So the understanding of this creation, this real, taking photographs, just last so many decades, they're only taking photographs, but they are not able to unravel. They are not even agnostic. They are making statement that there's no life on Mars. There may be life on Mars. If you can't perceive, doesn't mean there's no life on Mars. There are so many species in the planet who have different perception ability. They say there is an insect who can see far off in the space. So we should not be saying making statement as a human that we are the last word on this planet. We are the benchmarks. We are not. We should be modest actually.
I'm curious where you're going with this.
And now, if coming to that thing about the healing and all that stuff,
Hmm.
I really don't know if till the time you have not met that person and not seen. A lot of people claim to be healers. I've heard a lot of stories, but they also say. I mean, now these are all hearsays. So they also say that first of all, my logic is that why should somebody heal also? And a lot of people come to ask me that, do you know of some great yogi who can heal, put his head over you, hand
Hmm.
over your head, and heal you? I said, if he will,
It,
if
it
there'll
was
be one,
he accredited like 20 years of deep meditation too. Like it was a deep practice he was taught by his master apparently.
he will not heal the world because the idea is not to heal. Healing is not you correct the people and come bring them on the right path. It's not by magically healing a wound or create because that's all. Everything is a part of karma, and you are not there to remove the fruits of the karma. So that's why if you use that, you will fall. If you use that, you will have a fall. Like I can tell you, like I also had some abilities. I had great abilities. Some of the abilities were great, but I don't want to talk about that because I saw people reacting when I them met me or when I wished that this should happen. There was a time 2019, a lot of manifestations were happening, like small things. And when I was teaching meditation, people had an expectation that they should have some great experience. So I always kind of desired and they had those experiences, but then I realized I should not be doing that because I'm not here to make somebody happy. They should have to go through the process rather than coming here for a magic. And now those things don't happen. Now I'm not
Wow.
even teaching. I'm not teaching that.
Wow. So you think maybe it was some kind of universal reward in a sense, maybe for helping and guiding?
You should guide, but not do what is not needed. The help is fine. We are supposed to help. We are supposed to inspire people, but we are not supposed to spoon feed people. But somebody is really sincere will come to you. You can guide them. But if they don't want to do an effort, then nothing can be done to them. You don't want to change yourself, and you want somebody to cure you time and again. That doesn't work. You can't go to somebody who will give you $1 million for what, and you go to blow it up. You get all the bad habits.
What are your thoughts though on that aspect of possibly being visited in his dreams and being told like you're disenchanting my name right now, you know? Dishonor.
First of all, I really wonder that somebody was doing any healing, and if somebody was doing it, it's he's also on a path to evolve. Because if we start using our abilities for our fame,
Hmm.
actually, if you see person is doing, he's falling from his path, because he's falling in the trap of fame, because this maya, this illusion, this illusionary world is very complicated. It's a very complex test to evolve and purify and go to that level, higher level. Because you will get, like, if somebody feels I'm a great teacher, and if I get my ego boosted, and I try to, if I can try to extract some of my abilities, I'll fall. And that person is falling, and then he will say, to prove that, because the coming in my dream. But why should I be bothered about what's happening to him, whether his master is coming or not? Why should I believe him? How does it really matter to me? Actually, the point is that we look around a lot about mystical things. But what should be looking around? Why should be discussing something which really doesn't matter? Because what matters is my self transformation, and that should be my focus. We shouldn't be worried about what kind of magical people are there. And exactly that's what your parent family must be meaning, that there are mentalists. There are a lot of crazy mentalists who are trying to do all kind of stunts, and they are all over. I mean, I say there are gurus in India, but there are so many coaches.
Hmm.
They're also trying to say I'm a healer, I'm a
Can
channelizer, I'm medium.
can you explain maybe a little bit how it works then in terms of specifically I'm talking about the yogis that meditate and they know when someone's going to come to them and they can tell them everything about them. Those people specifically. Like how does that work scientifically?
See, you get the ability to read mind. I also had this. And it happens. I had, in fact, now when you are asking these questions, it's I'm relating to my experiences, own
That's good.
experiences when I met a lot of people, and it happened in Europe actually. Most of the thing
That's
happened in
good. Make
Europe.
it personal. Go for it.
I know. So the thing is that you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to do any of those kind of things. And like when I met all the yogis in Himalayas, those rare yogis in these remote places, my no intention to, I was not going, in fact, I never had any kind of problem, I would say. And today also I said there's no problem in life. This illusionary world will always have some problem. But my intention was to go and talk to them and check whether I'm on the right path, what I'm kind of thinking, my thoughts, do they validate, resonate with them? Am I resonating at a good level with them, or I'm at a very lower level? Because when you go and meet a realized yogi, you should be doing some deep talk. And if you are able to do that deep talk and there's a kind of connection, that's what matters. It's not about I'm going to test them with it superhumans paranormal abilities. That's not the point, because
Wow.
my goal is not to my goal is to find my purpose. My goal is to discover. You have to self discover this. It's all about knowledge. It's not
Mhm.
about the abilities, the display of ability. It is about abilities will enable you to get more knowledge. Ultimate aim is to get the ultimate knowledge, and that's the path. It's not about displaying the path. You can guide people how to reach there, but you should not be displaying it, because then you are actually trying to impress them by displaying it.
Ooh, ego gets involved then.
Yeah, ego, fame, lust,
Wow. I didn't think about it like that.
lust, greed. I mean, yeah.
That's a good way to put
So
it.
people fall. Yeah, people fall for this. People fall because these are the traps on the way. It's like a snakes and ladder game, and it's like a treasure hunt
It
where you
also
will go and
reminds me of Yuri Geller. Do you remember Yuri Geller?
no, no, no.
He
No.
he
I am.
he was bending spoons on live television, and he was one that he would have a lot of trouble whenever they were recording it with a bunch of people watching. So I was like, there has to be a universal part of that as well, where you can't perform with a ton of eyeballs on you, as opposed to when you're alone. and you're trying to manifest and make things happen.
Yes. So what happens? There are a lot of practices in India. They call it yogic practices. There are people who have eaten tube lights. There are people who bend these things. Even in India, I've heard. And but these are mental abilities. Like this is the power of mind. Actually, focus. So with focus, meditation is about focus. In India, there's a word called dhyan. The name of meditation is dhyan. Dhyan means focus, attention. So when you focus, and all these scientists, whether it's Einstein or all, they were doing dhyan, they were doing meditation, they were actually doing a self-analysis. And they're all philosophers. So it's all philosophy. So these people did dhyan to do something worthwhile rather than bending a spoon. So some people, they use this process to bend a spoon and trying to, they are actually, I would say, misguided. And they've used this. There are people who are doing some kind of sadhana in India. There are some tantrics who do something in the graveyard. So there people are doing all kind of stuff. But I think, as I say again, that how does it really matter? This only shows that there is a power of mind. With the power of mind, like they say, if you have a lens and if you focus the lens with the sun rays, you can burn the paper. So that's how we are able to
Ah, that's a good one.
focus
That's a good
all
one.
all the energy which we have in the mind, because your mind is not dissipating. First of all, once your mind is focused, your mind is purified, the vessel is clean, you can direct the energy to what you want. Like today, I only think of what I want. I am not disturbed by second thought, third thought. Or if I switch off, like somebody was asking me one day, what do you do at home doing nothing? I said, I am trying to think what to think. So if you so this is a funny kind of thing. So now I'm trying to use my mind to do self inquiry into the planets, celestial science, the human science, and I've made a few videos now. And but I get bored all alone. I feel sometimes there should be somebody to discuss these things, because as you go deeper, you need to kind of stop and pause and look back and then see, okay, now next. And when I really look back, I'm seeing that I'm actually moving up, moving in a good way.
Yeah,
And
I
my
also
own.
think it's also important. I just want to say, like, I ask a lot of these questions just to confirm that it's possible or that it could happen. It's not so much that I believe and these are my viewpoints or anything. I think a lot of people don't think that these things are possible in a lot of ways. But I kind of want to shift the conversation a little bit to extraterrestrial. Do you have any thoughts on that? Have they been here forever?
I'll tell you about that. And in fact, my last discussion, I said, and I was telling about Mars. So, scientist and being agnostic and not being agnostic.
Hmm.
So, before that, I will say that saying that these things are not possible, if you've not seen it, you can say, uh, uh, I don't know. And then, second thing is, how does it matter?
True.
What matters should be my focus. Why should I worry about who's doing what kind of tricks?
Hmm.
Do they really matter to my goal of life? So one is that. So should I be scattering my energy in trying to find out all kind of nonsense which is happening?
Hmm.
Because as technology is developed, like when the bomb was created, atomic nuclear technology was developed, it was used to create a bomb. So all the technology, the digital poison, we are engulfed with. So somebody used communication devices, and how the communication is changing the frequency, the vibrations in the earth with this microwave and all. That's another story to talk about. Like I was listening to Isaac Newton, and very interesting. 30 years, 40 years back, he predicted all this. So I mean, there are a lot of things. So the thing is that people have been misusing a lot of things. They misuse the technology, and what you see is paranormal is also technology. It's all about the mind, science of mind. So they have somehow unraveled the power of mind, and they decided to use it for something which is of not worth. He could have used, like, you have criminals. They have great brains. You have economic criminals. You have this big four, big IT companies, and they're all like, what are they doing actually? The capitalists or what? That's
Hmm.
intelligent people. So they are using technology, their strategy, all to for futile, useless things. But my point is that what should I be using? Now coming to extraterrestrial is, if I don't want to say there are extraterrestrial, because I've seen a lot of videos on YouTube now. Because what I feel, a lot of people are creating stories. They want stories. Somebody from one podcaster, I want something very with a controversy. So they want TRP, they want views. So there's a channel which is filled with extraterrestrial talks. There is a channel. There are so many channels with near-death experiences. Everybody seems to be dying and coming back, and they are seeing colors. So there's a lot of nonsense here because of whatever reason. Because if you see so many, there is a channel in
That's
India
funny
also.
though. Everyone's dying and coming back. That's funny.
Yeah, everybody seems to be dying and coming back, and a lot of people are having OB. So there's so many abbreviations, out of body experiences, and all. And I don't do this. Sometimes I feel they're all mental cases, or they are doing it for making stories, something like that. And there can be some mental issues also. But I don't want to talk about it because it's none of my business, and I'm not really interested in all these stories because if it makes there should be a rationale behind everything. Because I was talking to this podcast from Ireland, and I said, whatever is there, whatever is happening to me, I should analyze it scientifically. I should give a scientific correlation to this. I should have a rational. We should not be irrational. There should be some rationality. Science is logic. Science. What is science? Science starts from assumptions. You do self-inquiry. You do a lot of thinking. You do a lot of thinking, and you analyze. You basically analyze the situation. You collect some data points, then you make some assumptions. And science is logic. The software is logic. What is software? What is algorithm? It's all logic. So there are conditions. So you create some initial environment, you do assumptions, you collect some data points, you make assumptions, then you make some, based on assumptions, you find one variable parameter, and then you find out that variable parameter. And then you are supporting your finding with data and rational. And that's what we call experiment, and that's what we call invention. There's a difference between invention and discovery. What Newton found apple falling is a discovery. That was not an invention. Invention is through experiments. Experiment is what? All these Rishi Munis, yogis, they are doing experiments. The self-inquiry is an experiment. We have only created coined terms. The science and yogi and rishi, they were all same. Meditation, we look at very differently. And experiment, we look at very differently. That happens in the lab only. But we don't connect these things. We don't see the overall picture at a higher level. That's very important. Now coming to extraterrestrial. Why not? Now, if I say there are people have cited, there are some saying, but where is the proof? What is the documentary evidence? Where is the collective proof? Which university is declared? Is there a Department of Extraterrestrial Studies? I don't think so. So people have cited UFOs, this, all that, and everything is happening. I see a lot of this is happening in America, actually. In America, I see a lot of stories about UFO being sighted nowhere else, I think. And they say because there is a lot of technological development in America, so the extraterrestrials are more interested in knowing what is happening in America. I don't think anyone on the earth is so advanced as extraterrestrial who can come here and go away. So my point is, there should be extraterrestrial. Any life outside this planet, we call it ET. So why shouldn't there be a life outside our planet? There should be. There must be. There are so many solar systems. Recently, just 2 days back, I was listening to this Professor Madhusudan from Cambridge University. He's the Department of Astrophysics, and he's found some parameters which indicate life on Earth, because there is some sulfate, some compound which shows that there is an oceanic life. Only when there is water, then these compounds will be found in the atmosphere. So they have this James Webb Telescope is streaming some data, and from that data, this guy and his team has really found that there's possibility of this life on this planet, on this solar system. I don't remember the name of the star around which the solar. So the point is, there are many solar systems, and every solar system has planets, and every planet should be having life. I would say every planet should be having life, because if I don't see, because every planet will have a species which will be designed to operate in that environment, probably. We cannot say that only Earth has life, because we live, and what we can perceive, doesn't mean there may not be life on other planets. There may be life on other planets which is beyond our frequency
Which
operating band.
if we think we're the only ones, it's probably our ego at that point.
Yeah, I mean, our benchmarks are so egoistic, and if I say that we as human have also created so many things we have created scientifically, and so we have the ability to create, and we were also created by somebody. Now we say God or universe, but maybe it may be possible that we were created by some other life on some other planet
Yeah.
who are operating at a different level, and our rishis and muni they saw that they saw that
I'm coming
they
down
were
here.
they were
We're coming down here to the last 7 minutes. I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to get to the last few questions. What ancient wisdom is still relevant in today's tech-driven world?
First of all, the ancient wisdom is unraveled. And this tech driven world, the technology of today is very obsolete compared to the technology of ancient times. There are
Wow.
a lot of proofs in the temples in India of different spacecraft and all. What I mean, scriptures talk about flying saucers and all that stuff. And the battle in Mahabharata, the epic battle, was fought with some great weapons, which we have no idea because we only can imagine that there was a fire bow and there's a bow with fire, but there was some great technology. So wisdom, we don't have the capability in this era, in this Kali Yuga. The minds are not so developed. We are now engulfed in toxicity. And we can't talk about, but there are very few scientists. And if you see the discoveries which happened in the couple of decades back, there are not many inventions really happening. We are only improvising like 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G, 6G. But the inventions are not happening. But a lot of inventions happened past centuries, 2 centuries. And we are too engulfed in too much of chaos, political, capitalist chaos. And I don't think we have the time and energy people have to really look into the ancient science, and a lot of scriptures have been destroyed and lost. In fact, a lot of scriptures from India have been taken away into German labs, and even at NASA I think they are studying a lot of art scriptures. And I know one place in India which has got immense amount of scriptures, and if you can go and study there, they have some. I saw a book which makes gold from something.
Wow.
Now, whether somebody can decipher that, so that was another material science. Material science was at a very different level. We are also creating compounds, but the people had science which created so many things. People also used to transform from body to body. And there were a lot of things.
My last question here is what can we learn from animal behavior about instincts and intuition?
Oh, this is something which I want to say to you that we don't learn from animals. I was wanting to say about this
If you could
because
do it in 2 minutes, just so you can make it quick.
I would say that one should look at the animals, how they live, how close they are to the nature. They are in total synchronicity with the nature. We are not. And wherever we have destroyed the nature, you see the species are getting extinct. Hardly see sparrows in the city. But if I go, I see sparrows. I have a forest in front of my house. So I do see some sparrows. I was very happy. I was feeding the birds. But we should be learning from the animals instead of, feeling egoistic that we are superior species. We are the most, I would say, we are kind of inferior species. We
Yeah,
have to learn from everything else.
I like it. Yeah, how to apply what they're doing in nature to our own lives. Is there anything you want to promote, like last few minutes here? Any last words? We've got like 3 minutes left.
Nature has the animals follow the nature. They follow what time they're following a very cyclic, mechanical life, totally tuned in the nature. We are not. We sleep late. They sleep at sunset. They wake up at that. So I think that's what people do in the rural area or the village also. They eat simple. They are totally relying on nature. They don't have a salary. They don't work. They have no employment. They don't wear clothes. They are naturalists. And if you try
Wow,
to be a naturalist, you will love it. Actually, I've been experimenting that.
that's pretty cool. Any books or like specifics that you want to put out there? Ways to contact you, website, anything?
I have closed my website. They can check on my LinkedIn page about myself. I have a YouTube channel. There is a lot of content on my YouTube channel and books. I have written 3 books. One is on meditation philosophy. It's basically the science behind the mind, how the mind works, how the thoughts get generated, what I was trying to explain. Second book is about my spiritual journey, meeting these yogis and experience in the ashrams. And third book is about social issues in the society. I've titled it Social Pandemic, a terminally ill modern society, which actually depicts a true picture of today's world, which I wrote 2 years back. And a lot of people told me very negative title. I said, now I see that's a reality.
Since we have 2 minutes, do you want to make any thoughts on AI? Any thoughts about the future? How you see AI?
See, I've been in the IT industry, and people need some products. So when they don't have a product, they create product. Like cloud. Cloud is nothing. It's a shared hosted service. Earlier, people used to have a server for each application. Now they started hosted services, shared space to save cost. That's only cloud, but there's nothing great in that. And then there was a big great hype about cloud, and are you cloud trained? So they, fire people, and then they sell certification. So there's a whole lot of industry which is working behind some new product. It's really not a product. Same way, AI is nothing. Advanced analytics, I would say it's advanced analytics and a little bit of algorithm behind everything which you do. It's like automation. It's basically automation. But artificial intelligence should not take over human intelligence. I see a lot of lacuna because a lot of artificial intelligence being getting replacing a lot of things, and it is not foolproof. You can't replace human brain. I mean, that will take time, and if you do it in a nice way, where where there's some rhythm with the advanced automation. I would say this is basically my understanding is it is advanced automation, nothing else.
I appreciate your time today. You've been very, very knowledgeable, and I learned a lot. I hope we can do this again. I'll set it up with
Sure,
even
sure.
more questions, and maybe in a couple months, I'll send another email. I appreciate
Whenever
it.
you want, I'm free. I'm free.
I
Whenever you
appreciate
want.
it, Shiv.
Thanks, and I also, yeah, thanks.